Hello everyone, welcome to my YouTube channel where we do painting tutorials. I have very easy, beginner-friendly watercolor pencils landscape tutorial for you today, and I start by coloring the sky with some helio blue reddish, which is my darkest blue from my set. I'm using very little pressure because I want this to be a very light sky. And I go over it with my watercolor brush using horizontal motions left to right, right to left, so I get a smooth finish for my sky. I'm going to leave the bottom blank for now because that's where I'll have my landscape, so you don't really need to paint over it. Then with a crumpled tissue, I lightly press over the wet paint to get some very easy clouds right there. As the sky dries, I take some indigo blue and I'm sketching out a little lake I will have beneath my mountains. I leave white gaps for some water reflections, for some waves or sparkles. So I'm just coloring around those, and I leave them larger towards the bottom, towards the edge of the paper, and I make them smaller as they get closer to the mountains because I want to add some perspective, some distance into my painting. Then I go over the indigo with the helio blue, the same color I used for the sky, and I thought I'd add a pop of phthalo green, which is a very nice, almost turquoise kind of color, so I thought it would be perfect for this. Then I go over with a barely damp brush. I just want to activate this and still keep in mind to leave those empty gaps empty. Do not go over them with your watercolor brush because you will get rid of that highlight. You can obviously instead just paint this in a solid block of color with the indigo and or the blue or whatever other color you have in your set. You don't need the same exact shades. And then once it dries, you can go over it with like white gouache. You can go over it with a white Posca pen or something similar to paint over the highlights. But if you don't have that, just leaving empty space on your paper in advance is a very easy technique. By now my sky has dried, so I color my first mountain that is very distant with just some of the blue and the green very lightly, and I activate it with my brush. Once it has dried, and this is crucial, you need to wait for your layers to fully dry. I color my second mountain with all three of the colors, but still using very light pressure because I want it to be brighter than the ones I'll have up front. I go over it with my watercolor brush, and once it has fully dried, I move to the third one. I do a base layer of indigo because, like I said, I want the ones that are closer to us to be getting darker and darker. Then I go over the indigo with the blue and the green. And if drawing is not your thing, there is going to be a traceable available at my Patreon page, Sunshine Arts, along with the full-time paint along with me video / lesson of this painting, what I do step by step in real time. So if any of that interests you and you'd like to first support me and the channel, links will be down in the description and available as a card at the end of this video. And like always, you can find all of the supplies I have used down in the description box beneath. Now I'm just activating my layer with my brush, same as we did up until this point. I'm leaving one final gap for my final mountain, and I'm using mostly indigo for it with the most amount of pressure I've used throughout this painting. In order to get saturated results with watercolor pencils, you progressively use more pressure, but not to the point your wrists hurt or anything similar. Good quality pencils should have a good amount of pigment in them. So in order to get a very faint look for the sky, you're barely touching the paper with your pencil. And in order to get more saturated results, you color like you would for a normal coloring book. Then I thought I'd just add a little second piece to my final mountain right there on the left side because why not? And I actually took the white pencil from my set. This barely has any color to it, but I just want to add some very small pops. Alternatively, like I mentioned earlier, feel free to use white gouache, white acrylics, a white Posca marker, it all works. And I'm actually going to erase a small bit of that palm area right there. It looked a bit too dark for me, so I just very lightly erased it, and I add some shadows with my blue to just outline the waves. Finally, I add some seagulls because why not, and then just peel off the tape. I'd like to give a very special thank you to my Patreon supporters for the month of July, and thank you all for watching. We'll see each other in the next video. Bye bye!